in general, Celtic cross for the month of January. So this is what covers us. It's our current situation. It is the King of Pentacles. What crosses us is the Queen of Swords. What crowns us is the Hermit reversed. What's beneath us is the Eight of Cups reversed. What came before us is the Hanged Man. What is before us is Justice. Judgment reversed is who we are. The Two of Cups reversed is home and business. The Tower is our fear. And the Queen of Cups reversed is our future on this path. Not exactly the brightest reading, but we do what we do. And we work with what we have to work with. And so let's get into a prudent reading on the month of January in 2025. If we look at the current situation, it's the King of Pentacles. The current situation, we are all focused on money, I think, especially on a higher level of like government and economy, so that makes sense. So our current situation is working on bettering finances. But what crosses us, what's the challenge to that, is the Queen of Swords in a challenge position. So we look at it upright and reversed. The Queen of Swords upright is leading kind of with conviction in a maternal, generally good way. But when it's reversed, which again in this position we look at the both sides, the Queen of Swords is about emotionally cold, kind of cruel. The word Bridget Esselmont uses in The Ultimate Guide to Tarot is bitchy, right? So our harsher side is really going to be what's blocking us moving forward financially, whether that's independently or on a larger scale. We look next straight to what crowns us, which I look at as the subconscious, which is the Hermit reversed. Unfortunately, the Hermit reversed is about cutting ourselves off, isolating ourselves, and not in a productive way. Were it upright, it would be more of a productive time alone, introspection, but when it's reversed, we're looking at isolation to a detriment of ourselves. And that in the subconscious is informing how we're living our day-to-day life, which is the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups is what came before us in general in the 2025 reading. That's actually false. Sorry, the Eight of Cups is not what that was, but it is a similar flavor, right, of a reverse and leaving what we have, what's drained, leaving things behind and moving forward, even if it's a challenge emotionally. And so that time alone, which is really a destructive time alone, is causing us to feel like we need to leave things behind and feeling like things haven't gone our way or aren't serving us anymore. And so that informs that, but I look to the Hanged Man, which is the past, as kind of the reason that those things are going on subconsciously and consciously. The Hanged Man is literally about being hung out to dry, turning your back on others or having others turn their back on you. It's about feeling betrayed on some level, which absolutely would cause us to... It's kind of ironic that cut off at the word cut off, but also a little bit annoying. Okay, right. So that feeling of being hung out to dry would absolutely make us feel like we needed to leave things behind and also kind of cause us to isolate. We're going to move straight into like the future conditions. So if this is the future, if we stay on the path in general, then this is the future conditions coming towards us. And so that is the Justice card. The Justice card, I mean, very straightforward, right? If we're on this track, at least that there's something coming, whatever caused us to feel hung out to dry, whatever this effort becomes, will be resolved through a feeling of justice, a feeling of completion through a cycle. an end that feels satisfying, really. Judgment is reversed, is what we are and how we're perceived. The Judgment card is, it's a representation of the rapture, right? The end. It's Gabriel blowing the horn. It's everyone coming back. It's kind of that feeling of, again, the end. It's literally a card of the end of the world, unfortunately, and that's how we are perceiving ourselves and being perceived as maybe not the cause of it, but it's what we feel like we're going through. It feels like the end of the world, which unfortunately we know, but where it's reversed, it's an ending that we don't feel like we're getting justice yet. It might be on the horizon, but we don't feel like we're getting it yet. The Two of Cups reversed is our home and work life, which is kind of goes back to that 2025 reading from the last episode with Mason and I, where I did a reading for, again, generally 2025, specifically for America. And that's that we aren't filling each other's cups. We're draining each other. We're hurting each other. It's causing us to be scared and frantic. And that's tearing us apart. If we look at, like, I mean, this is a very literal take on it, but like the two-party system, there isn't a cohesion. There isn't anything holding us together anymore. And we're at odds with each other, kind of tearing each other down emotionally. The hopes and fears that we have this January specifically are the Tower. The Tower is a really famous tarot card, right? It's all about shaky foundations. Something we need to look at with the Tower is that it is a disaster. It's a falling out. It's a destructive force, but it comes from the Tower itself being built on shaky ground. It comes from us not really building ourselves off of a productive, solid basis. And so in our hopes and our fears, we're really expecting disaster and preparing for disaster. I always say in this position that our hopes are our fears. So unfortunately, I think something to point out is that a lot of us have this anticipation of the end to the point where we're going to almost perpetuate it because we want it to be over with. We want it to come about so that we can deal with rebuilding off of a better foundation. And whether that's what we're afraid of or what we're hoping for, we really don't know. We're struggling with that. With the Queen of Cups reversed, it is the future position. The future is really mutable. It's changeable. It's something that we can work with, especially if we have this context to change course. But the Queen of Cups reversed is going to be, again, that feeling of being drained by each other, having our cups emptied, having no control over that emotion, losing kind of our maternal touch with things, which unfortunately it's a really clear outcome to all of this draining of each other and feeling like the world is ending and expecting and almost craving disaster. So again, it's something that we can avoid. And so we're going to go through and I'm going to do my little Vanna White tarot card tapping. And again, the first place we're going to look, I think the first place we need to look is over here at the Hangman. Unfortunately, it's not reversed. It's not something that we can unblock. We recognize what happened. We recognize where we're at. And it's not a great place. So acknowledging that is the first step. But taking subconscious responsibility for ourselves and being less destructive with ourselves in our moments alone is really going to help subconsciously. So if we tap it to really kind of look at what that energy would be unblocked, we look at each of us looking introspectively at ourselves more than being alone and cutting everything out. And this, hopefully, would stop us from really feeling like we're leaving in a bad position, we're leaving things behind, and it would put us in a more productive place to move forward And instead of leaving behind things that we'll have a struggling time leaving behind, we'll leave behind things that we've recognized no longer serve us through introspection, and we'll be able to move forward more productively, even if these cups have been drained, even if we've hurt each other, even if there's a feeling of loss. Justice is coming. There's really nothing we can do. Luckily, the justice isn't reversed. It's not blocked. It's coming, and it should be somewhat fair, at least. With judgment, to unblock this, we're going to have to acknowledge that tower feeling. We're being perceived as people who see the end coming, panic, freak out. And if we acknowledge that on some level we're hoping for that, we're building ourselves up for that, then maybe it's something we can't change, but it's something that we can move forward with more productively, right? I mean, the end of anything could be the beginning of a new cycle. Falling apart on a shaky foundation could be a chance to rebuild. And that justice and judgment, we have to hold hope that when justice is served, the judgment will be fair and we'll all be able to come out safely and feeling more fulfilled. If we focus on trying to not end the world because we're unsatisfied or crave the end and disaster, then hopefully this ending will be more positive, and we'll be able to hold ourselves accountable. And hopefully, with holding ourselves accountable, then in our families, in our relationships, in our work, in our home life, as a microcosm and a macrocosm, we'll be able to fill each other's cups. I mean, a lot of the resolution to these problems that we're dealing with are going to be fulfilling each other and not emotionally attacking each other, which is really difficult at this time when we see the end coming, we see disaster, and we know that there's some kind of justice that needs to be served that will be coming. But again, unblocking that emotional harm that we're doing to each other at home and at work, in all aspects of our life, should bring some kind of unison, and through that unison, hopefully the energy would be flowing better in those places. I can't tap the tower, our hopes and our fears, unfortunately. There's nothing really that we can do to unblock that energy. We just have to acknowledge that it exists and make it more of a fear than a hope. A strange thing to say, but we should fear the disaster, not hope for it to come. And I'm thinking, hopefully, right, if we spend more productive time by ourselves introspectively, if we acknowledge the financial crisis that we're in, if we're kind and we facilitate our authority correctly, and we leave things behind that are no longer serving us through an acknowledgement that we can move forward better, and that emotion is able to flow more productively, more kindly, then that is where I feel comfortable tapping the future to unblock the general feeling of no longer taking care of each other. We need to have kind of our maternal instincts turned on and feel like we're fulfilling each other and being fulfilled, and in that we as a collective will feel more fulfillment, and hopefully, right, moving towards a future where we all are feeling more fulfilled will be a better end to whatever's coming. This is definitely a spread showing isolationism. This is a less frantic energy than what I've been getting astrologically, so maybe as we look through the month, things will be changing. But definitely this is an energy of calling for accountability and an ending. The ending right now, as of this month, for this is January, remember, the ending of this month might come about in a way that, I don't know, we already feel hung out to dry, right? It might come about in a way, though, that feels like the end of the world, unfortunately. But if we keep each other emotionally fulfilled, right, don't cut yourself off completely, because where the hermit is reversed is where we're cutting each other off emotionally, causing these blocks with each other. and hopefully spending more productive time alone and acknowledging that we can move away from things that are draining us will bring us to a place where we feel more fulfilled and we fulfill others emotionally, compassionately. We need to fix the course we're on, because the futures that have been coming up for this year, they're not serving us, and they're not going to be for the betterment of all of us unless we do something.